When is this going to end? So, top stories. Black actress cast as Joan of Arc in Scottish theatre production 11 hours ago. And Mandeepa Kabanda plays Joan of Arc reimagined. Yeah, you can reimagine, all right. That does not look like a medieval French girl, if I've ever seen one, but I guess what I just said is far right. So, which one are we checking? That's a nice suit of armor. I actually like that. Yeah, the fact that it's theatre, it's not as bad, but yeah, of course, it's worse with Nolan, I agree. If it's theatre, it's one thing, but I want to see what they say, because you have to remember, everything is a move. So we cannot look at these things in isolation. If we saw this in isolation, then theater, generally speaking, the person doesn't have to look like the character. It is something that in theater is quite common. And in fact, I would put documentary needs to be as close as possible to reality. Otherwise, take the word documentary out of it. Then there is history-inspired movie. I would not want any race swapping because it's disrespectful, but it's not as awful as the documentary, right? And in fact, on top of documentary, we should put university lectures, since those have been removing and race swapping all over the place. So university needs to be exactly representation of reality. Documentary, very, very high level of expectation. Movie, less. Then theater, then cosplay. If it's cosplay, I don't care. When it's like these people, you see this kid, and maybe she's black and she's playing an elf who's white skin, I don't care. It's a cosplay. Let them have fun. We white people have been cosplaying Japanese samurai characters forever, so there's no reason for us to point the finger at someone who's black or Asian and they are cosplaying someone who's white, unless when they make the post, they say, haha, I do this to remove because I hate white people. Then we can absolutely dogpile on them. But unless that's the case, unless like there is a way to figure out, or they are doing it out of hatred and racism and anti-white sentiment, then I don't have a problem. Let the kids have fun. Theatre is kind of above that, but it happens a lot. With that being said, though, I'm not ready to justify it and say, oh, guys, it's just theatre, because of the reality in which we live in, whereby the media, the governments, and the academic circles, sorry, I'll finish the point, the academic circles are now pushing anti-white sentiment and white erasure. Then I'm going to be red flag, and then I need to investigate before I say, now maybe it's just theatre. If there is a message behind this, I disagree with the message and I will fight against it for the rest of my life. But if there is no message and it just so happens, it's just really, can we believe it? Anyways, let's have a look. Mandeepa Kabanda plays Joan of Arc reimagined for 2020s. Yeah, this is kind of old, isn't it? Or is it new? No, it's kind of old. No, yeah, 2026. So, well, we'll see. Joan of Arc is getting a new take on stage, with Mandeepa Kabanda set to play Joan in Saint Joan, a reimagining of George Bernard Shaw's classic play. Okay. So, yeah, Mandeepa Kabanda headlines the production of Joan of Arc Saint Joan, a raw material, Perth Theatre. All right. The play puts Joan front and center as a young figure who shakes power structures and forces institutions to react. Already this. We'll have to see. Saint Joan is based on the true story of a 16-year-old girl who led France to victory in the 100 Years' War. This new version frames the story through modern lenses. Ooh. Oh no. You know, framing it through modern lenses, I think they're going to conveniently forget that she was a Christian. Watch it. Watch it, guys. Focusing on power, meaning gender. Oh, come on, guys. I called it. Gender and youth-led change, and how someone from a marginalized background can impact international politics. Okay. All right. Ditch it. Ditch it. Ditch it now. Ditch it. Oh, but it's theater. Shh. Okay. Now that we know. I was right. It's a political message push. Where is the marginalized group? Marginalized group, yeah. The production position Joan of Arc as the kind of unlikely revolutionary history keeps producing, which makes the story feel pointed at a time of political unrest and war. Okay, this Saint Joan is described as a stripped-back, close-up staging directed by Stuart Lang, formerly Untitled Projects. We'll check this out. It also includes a film sequence written and directed by Adura Onashile, blending live performance with a screen component to push the story's impact in modern format. So there is going to be a video, like there's going to be a movie, like not a movie, but it's going to be on screen. They're played by George Bernard Shaw and reimagined by Stewart. Stewart, what do they have to say? Black actress, so now we are in Hungarian conservatives. Of course, this could have a right-wing bias. We have to consider that, which is probably very similar to my own bias. However, considering what we just read, just because someone has a conservative bias, it doesn't mean that it's not reflective of the truth, right? Even if you look at this from a left-wing perspective. In fact, a lot of the times I'm told that this shooter in Canada identified as a female, well, then you are not following the truth. I'm sorry. At that point, the truth has a right-wing bias. Hate me all you want. Black actress cast as Joan of Arc in Scottish theatre production. Let's go. A new production of George, but this is all after This Is Helen of Troy, by the way. In all of this, and then they deny it, that it's happening. A new production of George Bernard Shaw in 1923 play Saint Joan is running at the Citizen Theatre in Glasgow, United Kingdom, between 14 February, United Caliphate, you need to update that, February and 21st of March. Most common name in Britain now, it's Mohammed. Boy name. It is directed by Tony award-winning theatre director Stewart. Okay. However, it is not that choices personnel that has raised some eyebrows. Rather, it is the casting of Mandeepa Kabana in the titular role of Joan of Arc. Yet again, a historical white role has been chosen to be played by a person of color. Right. Yet again, exactly, because it's happening all the time. It's happening in the games, it's happening in history, it's happening everywhere, and it's happening in academia. Do you remember that the first Anglo-Saxon, or was it a Briton? I think it was Britain. The first black Briton, we found their bones, and she was black, so Britons were black. They've been here all along. They're not actually immigrants. They've been here building Britain. They build a plaque in this clown show that is Britain these days. They build a plaque to honor the first black Briton remains, because the university, absolutely. Finally, the tech is updated. They check the DNA. She was white with blue eyes and blonde hair. It took them 5 years to remove the plaque. Do you think they put up a plaque for the first Briton DNA sample that we managed in that area? Absolutely not, because she's white, so we don't need it. It's not a message. I hate modern United Kingdom, and I hate Canada for how it is. Not Canadian people, Canada as a nation. If you appreciate my content so far and wish to help ensure my ability to continue to tell it how it is, regardless of any possible backlash, please support this channel on Patreon. Any support helps me and my team of academics keep the channel strong and gives us the means to fight back against the political rewriting of history. Stand with us, form the wall, defend the truth. Can't stand it. This is the more offensive variety of the dreaded race swapping trend. Joan of Arc was a real historical figure, as opposed to a fictional character traditionally portrayed as white, as we saw in the recent case of Helen of Troy. Even in the case of Helen of Troy, guys, it doesn't matter that it's fictional, because it's part of Greek culture. Who do these people think they are, that they can use what belongs rightfully to the Greek people, make millions off of the writings of this population, and manipulate the way they look? Helen of Troy was described as being blonde, with fair skin. I don't care that she's not real. Also because the war is real. Regardless of what the clown that is Flint Dibble says, because that guy is a clown. He should be shamed out of that, whatever university he's working in, because he's just a political pundit. It's just an indoctrinator of left-wing nonsense, Flint Dibble. He says, oh no, War of Troy didn't exist, it didn't happen. There is a monumental amount of evidence that points to the fact that a war happened in that specific area, which is the Anatolian Peninsula. We know there is a city, it's been identified as most likely being historical Troy. There is writings in Akkadian archives that this ignorant fool has never read, that specifically mention a king that transliterated is Alexandros. They talk about hundreds of chariots coming from Greece, in fact from the Mycenaean people. We see that the walls demonstrate the presence of a fire that is contingent and congruent with the mentionings in the literary sources. The War of Troy happened. This isn't fiction. Did the historical character Helen exist? It's actually possible at this point, because there is a mention of a princess in the Akkadian archives, and these are historical archives. As for another example from the British theatre scene this time, in the spring of 2024, the role of Juliet in the West End production of the Shakespearean drama Romeo and Juliet was also played by a black actress named Francesca Amewuda Rivers. The real Joan of Arc, also known as Saint Joan of the Maid of Orleans, was a peasant girl in the 15th century France. At age 17, she led French troops that broke the British siege of Orleans during the 100 Years' War. She believed herself to be guided by divine voices. This will be absolutely removed because Christianity is oppressed these days, which today are speculated to be auditory hallucinations caused by mental illness. Okay. They would never, I want to say this, if you're atheist and you watch my content, I'm a Christian and I'm proud of it. But if you're atheist, I respect you. I respect your positions. But let me tell you this much. If you're atheist, it means you don't believe in any God, right? Not just you have a vendetta against the Christian God, you disbelieve all gods. Yet, I'm willing to bet that you will never find this said about Muslims and their beliefs by any left-leaning publication. Am I wrong? I'm losing. You are absolutely right, Cold Jungle. Yes. Absolutely. Mankind is an awful species. We are fallen, which is what Christianity teaches, among other things. I swear, I don't know where we are going. Everything is upside down. Evidently, being a pageant girl in rural medieval France, she was white. Obviously, she was white. Of course, she was white, but they'll start questioning it. You wait. The Afrocentrist will jump onto this immediately. They'll tell you, no, she was actually black, but it's white supremacy. They changed all the evidence and they removed and burnt all the actual representation. She was black. They'll say it. Other white historical figures who have been portrayed by actors of color in recent major Western productions include Cleopatra. True, and she was Greek. In fact, everyone forgets about this. I don't know why people don't do the research. I watched Cleopatra for you guys, so you don't have to watch it. I did it. I subjected myself into this. They didn't just represent on Netflix, the documentary. They didn't just represent Cleopatra being black. The entire Ptolemaic family, her father, her mother, all of her brothers, they were all black. So this is not even a situation. We know that she was white, she was Greek. There is no question about it. Perhaps she had red hair. That's the only thing we can question. Maybe she even had red hair. We don't know. But even if you were someone who was like, no, you know what, but you can't really say 1,000%. There might be a 0.00003% possibility that her father actually had her with a local. And even then, that would be Greek plus brown, probably. But then again, you could say that there is a sub-percentage of the North African population that could have been black, so it's not impossible. But first and foremost, it would be very weird, considering the fact that the Ptolemaic were infamous for intermingling between themselves to maintain gene purity. They did that. So, of all the historical houses, the Ptolemaic one would be the one that I would not expect them to find someone who is local. No, they would find a cousin or a brother or a sister. That's what they did. But even if, that does not justify the rest of the family being black. Isaac Newton, true. Anne Boleyn, true. Queen Charlotte. I'm going to make a video about Queen Charlotte. Now they're claiming that she was actually black. After the Netflix show, where everyone gaslit us because we were saying, why is Netflix showing Queen Charlotte? Oh, it's just a comedic show. What are you saying? No, of course we know the real one wasn't. But why do you care? Why does it matter? Are you saying you don't want to see black people on screen? The usual stuff. No, now they're starting to claim it. So it was a lie all along. They're actually starting to claim that Queen Charlotte was actually black. And they did the same with Beethoven. I recently found a post about that. And the original Japanese, the first shogun, was black. So, yeah, director Stuart Laying has spoken to the Scottish paper The National about his choice of casting Cabana as Joan of Arc, saying, I think the young people do look at the men in power, and they are shocked at the state of politics, and so they do act to change things. And therefore, he wanted to pick someone close to the historical figure's actual age. Okay. He did not feel the same obligation to stay true to the historical figure's race. However, for reasons he never articulated. Guys, we know. We know what the reasons are. It's white erasure. We know it. It's hatred for white people. It's so obvious. Recently, the British public broadcaster BBC, oh gosh, conducted an internal review which found that historical race swapping in television series is very unpopular with audiences, including among people of color. Yes, exactly. And I'm definitely one of those with whom is unpopular. Problem is, the split second I complain about it, even though I've always complained for all forms of race swapping. If you give me, not that they would dare, but if you give me a white Shaka Zulu, I would tell you, what the heck are you doing, mate? That's not what Shaka Zulu looked like. I've always complained about it, but it doesn't matter, because the moment you challenge the cult and you say, but this Norse, white, Nordic man Jarl, you represented it as a black woman. It's wrong. It's a real historical character. They immediately tell you, oh, so you're saying you don't want to see black people on screen? And then the moment you respond and you say, no, I've always complained, in 12 years on this platform, I've always complained of all forms, they tell you, no, that's not true, never happened, no, it's not true, you're racist. Okay, great. But when people of color, with plenty of black people, complain about it, you know what they say? Well, you're not truly black if you don't vote where we want you to vote. So anyways, this is it, guys. Now it's Joan of Arc. The real question is, who's going to be next? Historical figure that they will race swap, and they will continue. This will not stop until every single main core historical personage figure of our history of Europe will be swapped. Then after they do it, they'll tell you that was the truth all along. As they're doing it with Queen Charlotte, they already moved on to stage 2. They'll do it with this one. You give it time. And I'm gonna save this clip, because people are going to tell me, no, it's not true, it's not going to happen. But then whenever it does happen, and the Afrocentrists start claiming it, and the media virtue signals and lies with them, and then some politicians will start saying, yeah, it's true, in France, in Macron. I'm going to wait for him to say it. Oh, yeah, no, Joan of Arc is a powerful, important tool and representative. She was all along. New data uncovers that she could have been, because she was burnt at the stake. It's not like we can double check the DNA. They'll do it. Try the Austrian landscape painter there. They're not going to do that one, are they? Yeah, they're not going to touch that one. This is the state of nonsense that we are dealing with, my dear friends. And that's really what I wanted to share with you today. Hold it there, traveler. Do you know what this is? This is my Twitch channel called Metatron Gemini. I play a lot of games, it's a lot of fun. So don't be a muppet and click the link in the description box. Look, I even put it as a pinned comment. What else do you want me to do? I made it so easy. Come on. Follow me on Twitch. See you there.